This is the survival story that you're surely going to love. Story starts with Haley Keller, a swimmer from the University of Florida. She's in a race but isn't winning, and she remembers how her dad used to cheer her up when she lost as a kid. After taking a shower, Haley checks her locker and sees her sister Beth calling. Beth says she's been trying to reach Haley all morning, but Haley explains that she's been busy training. Beth then warns her that a huge hurricane is about to hit their state, and she's worried because she hasn't been able to contact their dad. She thinks he might be staying at home, refusing to leave despite the storm. Haley reassures Beth that their dad is probably fine, but she promises to go check on him to calm Beth down. Beth, still worried, reminds her that it's really dangerous to drive with a Category 5 hurricane on the way. Haley brushes off her concern and heads to their dad's place in heavy rain. Along the way, she tries calling him, but he doesn't answer, and the weather keeps getting worse. Soon, Haley reaches a checkpoint and sees Beth's ex-boyfriend, Wayne, who's a police officer. He tells her that the road is closed because the hurricane has changed course and is heading right for them. Haley tries to convince him to let her pass, saying she needs to check on her dad, but Wayne insists she turn back for her safety. Haley pretends to leave, but after failing to reach her dad again, she speeds past the police checkpoint and continues on her way. After some time, Haley arrives at her dad's house. Inside, she's greeted by his dog, Sugar, but her dad is nowhere to be found. She video calls Beth and guesses that their dad might be at their old house. Beth reminds her that the old house was supposed to be sold after their parents' divorce, but Haley decides to go there anyway. Beth tries to stop her and urges her to find shelter instead, but Haley is determined. Taking Sugar with her, Haley heads to the old house. When she arrives, she sees her dad's car parked outside and tells Beth with relief. Inside the house, Haley calls out for her dad but gets no answer. She searches every room and finally hears his phone ringing nearby. After gathering her courage, Haley decides to check the basement, with Sugar barking nervously at the entrance. The basement is dark, dirty and wet, and Haley has to crawl around to move. While searching, she comes across some old tools, and then she finds her father, Dave, lying unconscious on the floor. Scared but determined, Haley flips her dad over and sees that he's still breathing. However, she notices deep, nasty wounds on his shoulder. She quickly starts dragging him toward the exit, where Sugar is waiting for them. But just as they reach the stairs, a huge alligator suddenly attacks them. Luckily, Haley and her dad manage to hide behind some pipes just in time, blocking the alligator's path. But now, they're trapped in the basement. After a while, Dave wakes up and tells Haley that the place is full of alligators. Haley replies that she's already met them and wonders how the creatures got there. Dave, looking tired, guesses they came through a drainage pipe connected to the lake. Dave isn't happy that Haley came and tells her to leave, insisting he doesn't need help. But Haley isn't about to abandon him. She tells him the hurricane is almost here, and that everyone in town has already evacuated. Besides the deep shoulder wound, she notices her dad has a badly broken leg. Haley decides they need help, but when she looks for her phone, she realizes it's back behind the pipes, close to the alligators. Even though it's dangerous, Haley decides to leave their hiding spot to get the phone. As she searches for it, she and her dad talk about Haley's swimming competition that morning. She's worried that if she doesn't perform better, she might lose her scholarship. Dave tries to cheer her up, just like he did when she was a kid, but Haley gets annoyed. Soon, she finds her phone, but before she can call 911, an alligator sneaks up behind her. She drops the phone in shock and runs toward her dad, but the alligator grabs her leg. Haley fights off one alligator only to come face to face with another. Using whatever she can find, she battles the creatures, but one of them steps on her phone, crushing her chance of calling for help. While struggling, she grabs a screwdriver from the ground and stabs the alligator several times, giving her enough time to hide in a small recess in the wall. Finally, the alligators leave, and Haley, grabbing a flashlight, checks her injured leg. The rain keeps pouring, and the basement starts to flood. Dave crawls out from behind the pipes and tries to think of a way to escape. Haley yells, asking her dad if the alligators are still around, and suggests he try to reach the front of the house to call for help. But Dave hears something, so they know the predators are still close. Haley decides to move cautiously and heads toward a grate that leads to the street. She spots 3 people near a gas station across from the house and quickly tells her dad. Haley starts signaling with the flashlight, hoping they'll see it. Meanwhile, the 3 people are busy looting the gas station, stealing everything they can fit into their boat. They're already thinking about how they'll spend the money from selling what they stole, One of the looters notices the light from Haley's flashlight and decides to check it out, despite his friend warning him not to. While he's trying to see inside the house, an alligator suddenly attacks the woman waiting in the boat. Hearing her screams, the looter turns around in shock, but the alligator goes after him too. At the same time, inside the gas station, the third looter, completely unaware, is packing bags of food. His injured friend tries to warn him about the danger, yelling for him to get out of the water. The guy doesn't understand what's happening, and then it's too late. Haley watches in horror as the looters are attacked, realizing she and her dad need a new plan to survive. Dave suddenly remembers there's another way out of the basement. He tells Haley about a hatch in the front of the house that leads to the main staircase. Following her dad's instructions, Haley uses her flashlight to feel her way along the foundation until she finds a wall where the pipes from the basement connect to the house. She finally reaches the hatch, but it won't open because heavy furniture is blocking it from inside the house. Sugar, hearing Haley trying to escape, runs over to the hatch, wagging its tail. But no matter how hard Haley pushes or pulls, she can't move the furniture. They're still trapped, and the water in the basement is rising quickly. After some time, Haley spots a new chance for rescue. Through the grate, she sees Wayne approaching the house on a police boat. Wayne moves toward the house, while his partner stays outside. Haley and her dad shout as loudly as they can, but Wayne doesn't hear them over the storm. Eventually, Wayne reaches the basement stairs and, hearing voices, gets ready to go down. Haley and Dave yell to warn him about the alligators, and Wayne tries to call his partner for help. Unfortunately, outside, the alligators have already attacked his partner. Just moments later, one of the creatures lunges at Wayne, dragging him into the flooded basement. Haley tries to help, but it's too late. The alligator kills him. Then the predator turns toward Haley, but she manages to hide behind the pipes just in time. In despair, Haley collapses against her dad, crying and afraid they won't be able to escape. Dave tries to comfort her, reminding her of when she was a child and struggled to hold her breath underwater. He encourages her not to give up, just like she didn't back then. Dave comes up with a risky plan. He sends Haley to the stairs while he bangs on the pipes to distract the alligators. One of the alligators takes the bait, and Dave manages to trap and kill it with a shovel. But another alligator is still circling the stairs, preventing them from getting out. Haley realizes they can't escape that way, so she decides to try escaping through the drainage pipe. Dave warns her it's dangerous, because that's how the alligators are getting into the house. But Haley is determined, where she discovers Wayne's body and an alligator nest full of eggs. As she's looking around in shock, an alligator shows up. Haley carefully pulls Wayne's body toward her and takes his gun. Suddenly, the alligator charges at her and grabs her hand, but she manages to shoot it several times before it can drag her away. Hearing the gunshots, Dave calls out anxiously, and Haley tells him she killed another alligator. Despite her injured hand, Haley doesn't stop. She holds her breath and swims through the drainage pipe, almost reaching the exit when she sees another alligator nearby. Luckily, it doesn't notice her, and she makes it to the lake. Haley surfaces cautiously, but just as she's about to swim to shore, one of the alligators lunges at her. She swims as fast as she can, and barely makes it to land in time. Meanwhile, the basement is almost entirely flooded, and Dave is clinging to the ceiling, struggling to keep his head above water. Once on shore, Haley spots helicopters flying overhead, but realizes no one sees her. She doesn't waste any time and runs back into the house. Grabbing tools, she starts chopping through the floorboards to reach her dad, who is now almost fully underwater. Haley frantically breaks through the floor, pulls her dad out of the water, but to her horror, he's not breathing. Desperate, she tries CPR, but nothing works. In a last attempt, Haley pounds on her father's chest, and Dave gasps for air. They make it out of the house, only to find the streets completely flooded. They realize the car is useless, and Dave warns that the dam will soon burst. Their only chance of survival is to get to the looter's boat at the gas station, but getting there won't be easy. The alligators are quick to react to any movement in the water. If they move slowly and quietly across the street, the alligators won't notice them. Dave picks up Sugar, and together, they carefully head towards the gas station. Suddenly, an alligator appears beside them, but they freeze, and it swims past without seeing them. Just then, the rain stops, but the sound of thunder and sirens warns of another coming storm. They no longer have time to be cautious, and Dave tells Haley she has to swim quickly to the boat. He encourages her like he did when he used to train her years ago. Feeling confident, Haley dives into the water, racing past the massive alligators. She leaps into the boat and starts the engine, then speeds back to her father and helps him and Sugar get in. But just as they start to move, the dam bursts, sending a huge wave crashing through everything in its path. Their boat is caught in the wave, and they crash right into their own house, flipping over as they do. Thrown apart, Haley climbs onto the kitchen table and sees the alligators closing in. Meanwhile, Dave is heading towards the stairs with some flares in his hand. Haley looks for a safe place to hide from the alligators and soon spots a police radio floating in the water. To her relief, it works, and she quickly calls for help for both her and her father. As Dave tries to get to safety, he grabs Sugar and calls for Haley, but an alligator spots him and attacks, biting off his arm. Hearing her father's cries, Haley rushes to help him, but the alligator then comes after her. She manages to hide in a shower cabin while Dave tries to deal with his injury. Haley knows she can't stay hidden in the shower forever, so she makes a plan to trap the alligator. She sneaks out of the bathroom and finds her father. Together, they make it to the second floor. Suddenly, Haley sees a rescue helicopter outside the window. She quickly grabs a flare and signals for help. But instead of rescuers, an alligator reacts to the flare and crashes through the window, bursting into the house. Haley yells for her dad to get on the roof while she faces the alligator. The creature grabs her arm and pulls her underwater, thrashing her back and forth. As she fights for her life, memories from her childhood flash through her mind. Then, she spots a flare in the water, grabs it, and stabs it into the alligator's eye, finally escaping. Haley climbs out through the broken window and tries to get onto the roof, but the alligator comes after her again. Luckily, her father is already on the roof, and despite his serious injury, he helps her climb up. At last, Dave, Haley, and Sugar are safe. They catch their breath and soon see the lights of a rescue helicopter in the sky. With her last bit of strength, Haley signals the helicopter with a flare while her father looks at her with pride. And that's where the story ends. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next videos.